Welcome to Art by Rick. I'm Rick. This show I'm going to do something a little challenging, different kind of look. It's an abstract painting like I always do, but instead of brushes or palette knives or hands or anything along those sorts, I'm going to use something a little bit different. But before I get to that, I've set the canvas up on the easel as to what I'm going to be painting today, and I need to put a base on this. Now, because I'm going to use some bright colors for this technique so that things really start to show, I'm just going to paint this black. So in order to do that, I will take this particular canvas off of the easel, I'll put it down on my work table, I'm going to paint it completely black, sealing all the edges, and then I'll let it set up. And then I'll show you how I'm going to pour some colors on this, use the special tool that I'm going to use to make my design today, and then we'll do some tipping and let gravity do its thing and see what we end up with as far as our acrylic painting for today. Okay, now what I've done is I've moved the canvas off the easel and I've put it on my working table. And as you can see, the way that I've set this up is I have everything that I need in front of me on the table. The canvas is now dry. It's been painted black. I put it up on cups so that I could do the edges and adhere itself to the table. And I've got my thinner out here, my acrylic medium. I've picked the colors that I'm going to use that I'm going to mix in the cups. And then I have my special tools on the side that I'm going to use in order to create the patterns that I want to do on this particular painting. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this canvas off the cups, I'm going to place it on the table, and I'm going to mix my colors for the pouring that I'm going to do before I use the special tools that I've been hitting about in order to make the designs that I plan to make on this abstract painting. So I'm going to go off camera for a little bit, do that reset up, that repositioning, and then I'll focus the camera in on the canvas, and you'll see what I do with the paints, and then I'll introduce my special tools. Okay, so I have put the canvas down on a work table. I've covered the work table with a plastic tablecloth, basically just to keep paint off my work table. And I've taken the time to decide which angle I'm going to put this. I mean, I could do the painting this way. I can do it this way. I'm going to do this to take advantage of the look going like this. I've mixed several colored paints in my cups. I have these cups ready to go. These cups all have a different color paint in them. I've added about maybe 1/3 of acrylic medium to thin out the paint, and then the rest is paint because I want the paints to be a little bit thicker than I would for a normal pour. And now I just have to decide how I want to do this before I bring in my special tool. So I'm going to begin by just looking at the canvas and deciding kind of how I want to place the paints, whether I want to do lines of the paints or whether I want to do dots on the paint. I might do a combination of both because I'm going to do some dragging techniques with the special tools that I'm going to be using. So let's just kind of look at this for a minute. All right, so I think I'll start with darker colors first and then go with lighter colors. So I have a blue here. The blue may get lost on the black, but I'm going to try a little bit of blue. Make sure that this is stirred up and that it's in good mixed condition. And I'll start by just adding a line of this blue paint kind of along the edge of the canvas here. So I'm just going to go down this way. And I might add another small line of it on this side over here. And as you can see, it's just going to start to spread out as it goes. So I will do an opposite color. I have some green here. going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add a line of my green paint. And I'm going to follow through on the other side with the green paint. Now the idea with this is to just keep layering these colors. So now I'll brighten it up a little bit. I have some red. Red always goes nice next to the green. So I'll do some red. And again, I'm doing the same thing here. Now it gets kind of sloppy. You can see that I'm dripping paints kind of dropping on the canvas here. I'm not too worried about that because I'm going to be dragging in different directions, so that's going to pretty much get covered. I have a little bit of pink. So again, I'm just going to do a line of the pink on my canvas. Okay. Follow that up with the orange. And finishing it with some bright yellow. The yellow really goes nice on the black. I always like the opposite colors and the way that that lays out. I also have some additional black paint here that I've mixed up. This is to hide any imperfections that may come out in this. Okay, so what I've done now is I have my black canvas, my canvas that I painted black. I've done my color stripes here and here. Now I'm going to introduce a special tool. I chose not to use a brush. I've chosen not to use palette knives. I'm not going to use my fingers in doing this. I want to make distinctive lines and drag these colors into each other, and I can do that a number of different ways. But one of my favorite tools to use is this, a comb. This is just a simple hair comb that I got from a local dollar store. But what I like about it is the tongs on the comb are evenly spaced, so I can get some even designs. So using this as a brush, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right from the top here, placing my brush at a slight little angle, and I'm just going to draw across the colors all the way to the other side of the canvas. So here we go. We're just going to draw through the colors and draw it out. We're just drawing this out. And I'm going to continue going on. I'm going from the end because I want different effects. So look at the way this is happening. These colors are getting drawn into each other across the canvas. I'll take these other colors and I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to draw the other direction. So now I've drawn this way and I've drawn that way. Now I have other paints that are available here. So now I'm going to put some more paint in these blank spots and I'm going to begin to draw it in other directions. And I think what I'll do is I'll probably add this in a little bit different of a pattern, or maybe the same pattern, I don't know. But I have some blue here. So I'm going to put some blue across the top. And I'll follow that with my green. And again, I'm doing a red. Following that with the pink, and then strip of the orange and yellow. I'll grab my comb and grab a piece of paper towel first. Just want to kind of clear off the edge of the comb here a little bit. There. And now I'm going to draw this with the comb and I'm going to go down through here. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to draw it down. Draw it down. Draw it down. Draw it down. So now I've drawn my colors to the side to the side, and I've drawn them down. Now the next part comes with the acrylic pouring, and this is where I'm going to pour colors onto the canvas and begin to manipulate the canvas in different directions. But to get my paint to flow well, I need to add some medium onto this in order for the paints to be able to slide across the canvas to give me the look that I'm trying to achieve. So let me step off camera for just a few minutes, get that ready to go, and then we'll do some tilting and turning and finish up this canvas of our acrylic painting with our comb drawn lines in the painting itself. Okay, so while I was off canvas, I basically just added some more paint onto here, or basically mixed some more paint. So now I need to cover these blank spaces. So I have some basic medium here, which is going to help the paint slide a little bit better. So I'm just going to add this in the blank spots, just kind of like that. This will help the paints move along the canvas a little easier. And I'm going to add more colors. So again, I have the blue. This blue is a little bit more diluted, but I'm going to add this up in the corner. And I'm going to add my green. And this has kind of a marbling look to it because of the way I've mixed it. I didn't mix it thoroughly. I've kind of left it a little bit light as far as the mix is concerned, because again, I want these paints to really flow across the canvas itself. So I'm just going to add these kind of on here like this. Put this into the middle there like that. And I have my pink. I'll add my pink in here. Pink up towards the top. Orange. We're adding the orange on. And I'm kind of just going to zigzag some of the orange here. This is where you get to take some liberties as to how you want to put your colors down and what you're doing as far as layering your colors. And I'm putting some yellow in here. And again, this is kind of mixed different than what I did for the combing because I'm going to allow these to flow. Alright, so now that I have this done, I'm going to take my comb, and again I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm just going to be drawing the comb through the paints. And what we're getting here, as you can see, there's kind of some lines, and they're mixing, and they're making some different angles and different blends. I'm going to bring it up this way. This is where you really start to get some really cool looks on the canvas itself. Just bringing this way, and then I'm going to stretch these. Alright, so now that we have this done, let's begin to stretch the canvas. So we're going to take the paints and we're going to start to maneuver them so that they move across the canvas. And we're going to cover all the different corners here. So we're getting off to the edge. We're going to move this down. Get down to that corner there. Okay. Move it over this way. And moving it so that it covers. Excuse me if I turn it off the camera here, I just need to get down to the edge there. Alright, I'll turn it back towards me because I want to get all the covers according to here. So I'm basically moving this. You can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm basically trying to cover the edges, get all the different edges of the canvas covered with the wet paint. Alright, now that I have my whole canvas covered here, I need to put it up on some cups because I don't want it to adhere to the table. So I'm going to take the cups here and I'm going to basically just lift this up and start putting it on some cups My hands are a little slimy with some paint, so let me just move my hands, clean them up a little bit. Here we go. Okay, just moving these cups up here just to lift the paint. Lift it off the table a little bit. There we go. Put it off the table a little bit. All right. And now I'm going to draw the comb through it again. I have a couple of different combs though. Instead of just doing with the one comb, I'll do different ones. So this is the original comb that I worked with, and I'm going to just start to draw this through, just like I did before. I'm making lines and strokes and different, pulling the paint in different directions as I draw this through. I'll go this way, just drawing it through to give me some look of some cells and some different aspects of it. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I have a different comb here with a little bit finer teeth on it. So I'm going to use this to kind of go through the canvas this way to allow me to draw the paint again in different directions. So I'm just kind of drawing it, and I'm going to draw through this way and draw through this way. That kind of gives it a little bit more finer of a line. And then I'm going back to my bigger comb and again making these lines more defined as I go across the canvas. And I'm going to pull up. And then I have kind of a spiky end to this particular thing, and I'm going to draw this kind of going through the canvas this way just to make some interesting lines. These are very light. You can barely see these as they're going through, but this is just kind of giving it a little bit more character as we're looking at it. So there we go. Now the idea for this is to just let this set up just the way that it is. Once it's dry, if I decide I want to add some more colors to it to get deeper lines, I will do that. But for now, I'm just going to let this sit just the way that it is, let it dry, take a look at it, and then decide if I want to add anything else to this style of painting that I've just done. All right, so we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Now it's taken a while for this painting to set up. One of the challenges with acrylic pours, even if you're doing any kind of designs in the paint, is that it takes a long time to dry. So as I just said, I stepped away for a while and I let this sit overnight. And it's quite not 100% dry yet, so I really don't want to lift it up to show it on camera. Because I don't want my paints to shift and blur the lines. But what we did here was we laid some colors down on a black canvas, a white canvas that I painted black, and then I just used a combing technique. I used these combs to kind of go through the canvas, make some lines. I use a different style comb to do that, to just get just a hint of some lines and some mixture of the paint to blend it all together and give me a rather nice finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the positions of the camera. I'm going to try and light the canvas while it's on my table below me here, and zoom in a little bit as I talk about how these colors are mixing together and the kind of look I was looking to achieve. So let me go do that. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I've switched the position of the camera because I've put the canvas back on the table, as I said. I still have it lifted up on cups because it's not quite 100% dry, and I really would have liked to have held this up. But what I'm going to try to accomplish here is I want you to see what we actually did today. we laid our paints down onto this canvas in a number of different colors that we were doing. And we first started by laying some stripes down and then dragging a large comb through the paint in order to get it to mix and make some lines. I then followed up by doing some pours onto the canvas around the blank spaces where I hadn't dragged the paint before, and then dragged a comb through it all to get it to blend. And what we ended up with here is we ended up with a multicolored painting that has different colors that blend and mix and kind of give a cloudy effect. And as we drew the comb through all the paints, we were able to make subtle little lines and stripes and designs. Now I'm going to make an attempt here to try and focus in on this painting, and hopefully you'll be able to see the lines that we made. So just kind of bear with me, folks, as I kind of zoom in on this painting a little bit. As I get closer to the painting, you're going to see the lines start to appear. You're going to see those little strokes, those little zigzags, the little marks that are in the painting itself to give it some interest. So I'll stop right about here as I talk about this. So these marks were made with a comb. This is a combing technique where I drag the comb through the paint in different directions. And as you can see, although there are blobs of colors here, the colors are all interrupted by the lines made from the comb. And it also helped drag the paint into each other so that we have a nice mix, a nice look. When you're standing back from this and you're looking at the wall, it's going to look like just blobs of color on a canvas. But as you get closer, you'll be able to see those lines that are mixed into the canvas. And you know the technique that I use to do that. So this is basically a combing technique with acrylic paints on a canvas that I prepared, giving it a black background and doing the colors that way. So on the next Art by Rick show, I'm going to go back to doing something that I did on an earlier show, and it's a balloon technique where we use a balloon to make different designs on some canvases. I'm going to make a number of small little canvases with these balloon designs on them that I from time to time put out on display or use around the house or give away as small gifts. So join me when I go to do that. I'll show you how we do that technique just to remind everyone if you haven't seen that show before. So, my name is Rick. This has been Art by Rick. I thank you very much for tuning in. I just want to say to everyone, just paint. Let you discover the artist that's in you. I'll see you next time.
Follow us on Instagram at nutmeg.tv.
Nick Augustino right here at the East Side Restaurant. We always have the complete full dinner menu. Knockwurst, bratwurst, sauerbraten, potato pancakes, red cabbage, rice pudding, cream pies, all the desserts that Germany had to offer. I always do something different. Yes, I do. I brought seafood to the beer garden at the East Side Restaurant. East Side Restaurant, your German destination restaurant in Connecticut. Tiki-taka, hoy, hoy, hoy!